to freshman speech presentations. It has been an honor and a privilege to work with the freshmen this entire year. And Mr. Howell and Mr. Tellez and myself are really excited to show you just a few of the awesome speeches that we had the opportunity to watch over the past 2 weeks. As you know, if you have been up here before, it can be rather intimidating with all these faces looking back at you. So there are some important norms we have so that you can support the freshmen that are about to come up. So I don't see any right now, so it looks like we already know our first norm, which is to put your cell phone away. Secondly, I should have everyone's eyes on me, and whoever's up here should have your complete attention, just like I do now. So all eyes should remain on the speaker, and you should remain seated while they're speaking. If you have something else you need to take care of, like you need to go to the restroom or something, please wait until it is between two speakers. It can be really distracting when you get up and move around when people are speaking. So again, to review, please keep your cell phones away, eyes on the speaker, and remain seated while they are speaking. So our first presenter today is Luke. There are many of you out there that are athletes or people who know athletes. He's going to be talking about something very important related to that topic.
So I'm Luke Demery, and I'm doing my speech on concussions. About 2 years ago, during a hockey game, a guy about a head taller than me and 30 pounds heavier hit me from behind into the boards and I hit my head. It all felt like slow motion at the time, but it all happened in seconds. When I got hit, I remember two things: feeling the most pain I've ever felt and seeing stars. I laid on the ice until the team doctor reached me. And when we went back to the bench, I remember him telling the coach that I had a concussion. I still wanted to play, but had a terrible headache, so the coach sat me the rest of the game. When I got home, I told my dad what had happened, and because he is a chiropractor, he knew I had to treat it immediately. Along with him, he knows other specialists who know how to treat concussions, and the next day we went to their house to get treatment. They put me in a hyperbaric oxygen chamber, a chamber where the oxygen levels are increased because that helps heal concussions along with proper treatment. After 3 or 4 treatments, I was almost 100% better. However, this is not the case for many people. Most doctors just say that rest and time is all you need to heal your concussion, and many people are suffering the long-term effects because of this. If you have ever had a concussion, you know how it feels to do the simplest things, such as watch TV, read, and play video games, all because you have a long-lasting painful headache, foggy vision, and nausea. If you do not get your concussion treated right away, the long-term effects could be life-threatening. Some of the long-term effects are depression, anxiety, substance abuse, CTE, chronic traumatic encephalopathy, and more. This brought me to the question, why have people neglected to realize that rest and time are not the proper treatment to heal a concussion? In one case, Sidney Crosby, a famous hockey player in the NHL, got hit by a blindside in 2011. He suffered with a concussion and its symptoms for about 8 months, and nothing was getting better because the doctors just told him to rest. When he finally realized nothing was going to get better soon, he decided to go to a chiropractor specializing in concussions, and after just 1 week, he noticed huge changes. After only 2 months, he was back on the ice and played his first game. That first game, he scored 4 points. Another similar case, a 19-year-old semi-pro hockey player was hit during a hockey game. 2 years later, he had the same exact symptoms as the day he got concussed. Can you imagine not being able to do a simple task such as walk your dog because every time you do any physical activity you get a severe headache? Well, this was the case for him. He couldn't do the simplest physical activity, even as simple as walking, because anytime he did, he got a severe headache. He finally decided to go see a doctor specializing in concussions, and after just a few treatments, he could skate on the ice for about an hour with none of his old symptoms. I know I've used a lot of examples of hockey players, but concussions can happen in any sport, such as soccer, football, and lacrosse. In this last example, a family friend of ours who was a softball pitcher was pitching during a game. The batter hit a line drive right back at her and hit her just under the temple. She was knocked out for about a minute, and when she got up, she had a severe headache. She started feeling the other symptoms later that night, like foggy vision and nausea. The next day, she went to the doctors, and they just told her to rest, not go to school, and be off all electronics. After a week, her homework load was piling up and nothing was getting better. She finally decided to go see my dad for treatment, and after just one treatment, she was able to go back to school and do all of her homework. All of these examples just go to show that the sooner you get treatment, the sooner you heal. One Hit Away, an organization that connects people with concussions with doctors, says, "Healing your brain is like healing any other injury. Concussions need more than rest in a dark room. They need the best nutrition, tests, and therapies available. If you do not get these therapies and tests, the long-term effects could be life-threatening. Depression is one of these long-term effects, and depression oftentimes leads to suicide. Suicide is one of the top 10 leading causes of death in America, and the second leading cause of death from people ages 15 to 29. Another serious long-term effect of a concussion is CTE, chronic traumatic encephalopathy. CTE is a neuro disease that comes with too many hits to the head, and the symptoms usually start 8 to 10 years after you have had a concussion. Some of the symptoms are headaches and forgetfulness. Some ways you can heal your concussion are by chiropractic and oxygen therapy, supplements, and diet. This is what One Hit Away says about oxygen. The brain needs oxygen, and when the brain experiences an injury or a concussion, the affected area is immediately deprived of the precious oxygen. Hyperbaric oxygen therapy can help restore the balance. Another doctor goes on to say, "It is the increased pressure of the air we breathe every day that signals to the DNA in our cells to perform healing tasks that the body usually can't." I think it's kind of obvious. Healing your concussion is not something to take lightly. Take action as fast as you can with proper therapy and treatment. In all of the cases, the sooner these athletes would have gotten treated, the sooner they would have been back to full strength. And the longer they waited, the longer their chances of diseases like CTE and depression. So I think it's safe to say that the proper and early treatment of your concussion is a no-brainer. Thank you.
Thank you, Luke. Our next speaker is going to be talking about a very important issue that's affecting many communities across the nation. Please give it up for Edith Martinez.
Hi guys, my name is Edith Martinez and my speech is about racism in the criminal justice system. Imagine going to jail knowing that you're innocent, but still have to wait days, weeks, even months until you have your trial. And even then, you still might have to face some time because the criminal justice system is unfair. Now adding up to that, my question is, how can I prevent the criminal justice system from continuing to have unfair trials? Daniel Soto is an example of an innocent person who was arrested and put in jail. On November 2nd, 2015, Daniel and a few of his friends were coming out of a restaurant when a man approached them. An argument happened and they began to fight. The man pulled out a knife and stabbed Daniel. Daniel saw a police officer and went to go ask for help, but instead he was sent to the hospital to get treated and was put in jail. On November 10th, he was taken to court and pled not guilty. He had to wait 6 weeks until he had his trial and then was found innocent of the crime. Because the bail was set at $30,000, his family didn't have enough money to bail him out, so he had to miss out on a semester of school, and as a senior, that made a pretty big negative impact on his education. One of the main reasons why innocent people are getting put behind bars is due to racial profiling. Police officers might just assume that you'll be committing a crime and now they have to deal with the unfairness that might come with this misunderstanding from the cops. According to an article I found called Not In It for Justice, it said that from 2012 to 2015, police in California made about 15 million felony arrests. Out of those, almost 500,000 people were arrested and jailed but were never found guilty of any crime. 500,000 people is far too many people for the police officer to mistake him for being guilty. Another reason why innocent people are getting put behind bars is because of money. As Brian Stevenson said, we have a system of justice in this country that treats you better if you're rich and guilty than if you're poor and innocent. Khalid Badr is a good example of this because he was only 16 years old when he was put in jail for allegedly stealing a backpack. His family was not able to pay the $3,000 bail, so he had to wait 3 years until he had his trial. Khalid Badr suffered abuse from guards and inmates, and 2 years after he got out, he committed suicide at only 22 years old. I believe that no matter how hard we may try to stop racial profiling from happening, especially in the criminal justice system, it just won't happen, or at least it won't be as successful as we wish it could be. Something we could do to reduce this problem is putting up policies to limit the bias. We can do what the Las Vegas Metropolitan Police Department did. They made a policy called Limit Use of Force that has reduced the force incidents and proved to be a safer approach to arresting a suspect as well. With this solution, the people in our community and in others will have more freedom and be worry-free of being accused of any crime that isn't being committed. Additional positive outcomes will come from less innocent people getting arrested, because the less people that are getting arrested, the less unfair trial there will be. There will also be more trust between the people and the police officer, and the police officers would give people a little more freedom, especially young men of color. Thank you.